Let's actually talk about this. This is fishhook theory. It is presented as an alternative to horseshoe theory, which is basically the idea that the far right and the far left end up just looking the same.
Why are so many centrists actually far-right extremists?
But fishhook theory argues that the far right and centrism are inextricably linked. Because deep down, centrists and fascists have a lot alike. Precisely because centrists have no real political convictions or moral problems with anything in its inherency, so long as it's not extreme, they end up sliding to the right naturally. Both groups fetishize power, and they both love authority. Centrists have no problem with violence so long as it's coming from legitimate sources, which always end up being the state punching down. Because if you actually think wanting to dismantle oppressive systems is the same thing as wanting them to be even more oppressive, you're right wing.
So this TikTok from arguably Samaya points out perfectly the simple fact that people who call themselves centrists are almost universally on the far right. And now, why is this? One of the big reasons is that these people, they fetishize intelligence and they love to think of themselves as being a smart person, which is a really, really dangerous thing to think about yourself. Because fundamentally, if you have being smart as part of your identity, if anybody says that you're wrong, they're not just challenging your specific idea, they're challenging your entire identity as a person. And if that's happening, instead of engaging with an idea conceptually and thinking about how it might change your mind, you have this stake in defending your ideas and proving how smart you are. Another layer to this is because they view themselves as smart people, they obviously view other people as not as smart as they are, and that leads to a big problem when other people propose any type of solution. Like, for example, let's say somebody comes in with a solution to say, hey, there's this really big problem of people not having housing, but there's tons of empty homes. So why don't we do a little bit of land reform? We just take some of these homes and we give them to homeless folks and do a guaranteed housing program that everybody gets one housing voucher, everybody, no means testing, and we force landlords to accept it or something like that. They will come in and they'll be like, ugh, that's really simple. That's a very, very simple solution, and it seems really obvious, but let me prove how smart I am by taking your obvious solution and turn it into something convoluted, where I am the dictator over what other people actually get. And here you can see in their efforts to prove how smart they are by figuring out who really deserves housing, they create systems that categorically deny people housing, and that just so happen to help wealthy landlords make ridiculous profits. So not only are they proving how smart they are by inventing convoluted systems of means testing to make sure that only the right people are getting access to housing, but they are also supporting these institutions of power at the same time. They're completely falling in line with the existing power structures, because if you want to change things, that means you have to defend your opinion. But if you don't want to change things, that's the real smart brain thing to do, because you have no opinion to defend. And that really is at the heart of this. Because these centrists believe themselves to be smarter and better than everybody, and because their identity is so much wrapped up in that, they are afraid to have any type of new ideas. They are afraid to propose any type of meaningful change. They are afraid to push for anything that hasn't already been done. And because of that, they always end up siding with the extreme right. Because fundamentally, in the United States today, it is the right that has always had power. Our country was literally founded by white supremacists. And the right wing never really proposes any dramatic change to existing power structures. They think that the people who already have power should just have more power. And that's not unprecedented. That is very much precedented. There's very much a precedent for extreme racism and bigotry and stripping benefits away from poor people and things like that. And so these centrists are always more willing to accept ideas from the political right than from the political left. And then there's one last layer on this that I want to touch on that David Graeber refers to as moral envy. You see, these centrists, they want to present themselves as being the good guys. And because they're the good guys, that means that the people who are against them are the bad guys. But when you have people on the left who point out that their policies aren't that great, that their policies are actually very harmful to a lot of people, that too challenges their identity and their core beliefs about themselves. And so they will viciously attack anybody on the left who simply points out that they aren't the good guys that they think they are, that is offensive to them. But when they look at the right, they can say, I'm so much better than those guys. I'm a much better person than them. They're not challenging their identity as a smart and a good person. Whereas the left challenges both of those things pretty directly.